So starting the test drive in this Durango Hellcat, I mean, this thing just sounds ridiculous. It's one of the more fun vehicles I've driven. I've driven a 21 that had like 1,800 miles on it, and if you've seen that review, you saw where I got on it like once or twice. Not even hard, but I was on it, and the check engine light came on. So that was interesting. I'm gonna get on it probably one good time here. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be manually shifting, so I'm not gonna be keeping the engine hot as much as I'm kind of using the supercharger. But again, not gonna thrash, not gonna drive it too hard. But that was just, I had a lot of people in the comments cracking up. Like, of course, a Dodge with less than 2,000 miles has a check engine light on. And I mean, for a six-figure SUV, that was not the most fun thing to experience, but hopefully they've gotten their act together a little bit. But knowing Chrysler, Now, one thing I can say is I think Chrysler has always gotten it right with Dodge and well, I guess Dodge and Ram now, with throwing superchargers on stuff that has no business having a supercharger on it. I'm talking about the Durango Hellcat, the Ram TRX, even the Challenger, because I mean, you can't get that thing to stay in a straight line. But I mean, they're just so much fun, and they can get expensive, but a lot cheaper than other sources of high output vehicles, I guess. Now, another thing I find weird about this is the brake pedal is, to get it to do anything, you have to like press it down quite a bit, which isn't really a big deal, I guess, especially if you track this thing like you should. But it's just weird with everyday driving, especially with 144 miles on it, just how squishy the brake pedal is. So I have the vehicle in auto mode now. I'm gonna keep it there and use the paddle shifters. Again, with this being a newer truck, I don't want to put it in sport mode and then forget to shift or something like that, and it's just revving high. So I'm just gonna keep it in auto mode, and then the steering is in sport, transmission is in street, but since I'm shifting, that shouldn't be an issue. So we're gonna give it a little throttle here as soon as I can open her up. That's all we're gonna get here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and set the cruise on. But I mean, honestly, pretty stellar acceleration. Again, I didn't even have my foot in it like that, but just fantastic power here. And the supercharger whine, I can't get enough of that. And honestly, the ride quality is not bad at all. It kind of just floats down the road like you'd expect from an SUV like this. I'm going to put it back into the auto mode now, and then we'll just see how it drives normally. I'll have to get one that has a few more miles on it to put it into the sport mode and kind of give it all it's got. But for now, that kind of just shows how quick this thing is. And again, all this stuff is limited. Like with Corvettes these days, all these vehicles, they don't let you give them full power until you got several hundred miles on them. And they think, okay, now we can give you the full power that is meant to be given out in these things. But I mean, still nasty fast. Now, I think for the price point, this is not bad. I think this one's right at $109. It might have come down a little bit here recently to around 100. But again, with this kind of miles, and just again, the practicality of this, I mean, you can get a G63 Mercedes, or you could get a Corvette, but I mean, this is kind of the best of both worlds, where you're gonna be suffering fuel economy if you want something this quick, unless it's a Tesla. But this is just, you can use this to tow if you need to. If you wanna use it to put the whole family in, you can. And then if you just wanna be a speed demon by yourself, or even take it to the track, you have that capability as well. And there are not many vehicles that come with all of those personalities. Now again, you have 710 horsepower, 645 pound-feet of torque. Can't go wrong with a vehicle that's that quick and will still hold 7 passengers. But just being able to have something that's kind of, I guess, under the radar, if you will. It's not necessarily a G-Wagon. It certainly doesn't bring, you know, G63 money. But it's still something, if you hit the line against the majority of vehicles out here, you're gonna smoke them. And there's something about that, just kind of having a sleeper SUV, where most people won't know the difference between a regular Durango and a Hellcat. If you have one of these, it'll just be funny to put your foot into it, really, against maybe a minivan. Now, I will say this, with a quarter tank of gas in it, has been showing low mileage on the fuel meter here. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up really quickly, which I just think is funny because it just expects you to burn through gas. Yeah, right there it's gonna say range low, and it's been saying that since I've been in here, and it was at a quarter tank. So it's crazy, just a little tap of the accelerator off the line, and this all-wheel drive system, it just launches you. Gosh, it's so much fun. I mean, it's experiences like that that make you want to pay 6 figures for a Durango. It's just so freaking quick. And I'm gonna try and give it one somewhat good pass coming out of this corner here, if I can. I mean, that's nothing. Like, I'm not giving it anything. Just a crazy vehicle. But this will bring me to the end of my review of this 2023 Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat.